When you think of the Arctic, maybe you picture a frozen iceberg, or the mesmerizing northern light, or a lonely Arctic fox. But definitely you won't imagine a piece of scrubby brown dirt. That brown dirt is permafrost.
Hi, this is MD, a final year PhD student in the Engineering, Science and Mechanics department, and I'm currently doing my research on permafrost from a materials perspective. Well, to find the answer, we have to travel to the coldest part of Earth, places like Siberia, Alaska, and the Greenland, which you could call the true home of permafrost. Around 11% of the Earth's landmass is covered by permafrost, including half of Canada and two-thirds of Russia. These regions are now warming 4 times faster than the rest of the world. That's enough to start the thaw, and this is definitely something we should be concerned about. Permafrost holds about 1,500 billion tons of carbon. When it thaws, this trapped carbon is released as greenhouse gases, such as methane and carbon dioxide, which speed up global warming. As you can see, it becomes a loop that keeps feeding itself, and once it starts, it keeps going. Well, it's actually not too late. I think what we need to do is to understand what's happening in places like Alaska, where permafrost is changing rapidly. Scientists often rely on remote sensing, like from satellite and aerial data, to monitor what's going on. But there is a problem. These techniques often struggle to see beneath the surface. And that's where my research comes in. At Penn State, we look at permafrost as a material, something that can be studied, measured, and understood at a fundamental level. And what we are particularly interested in is the state of water inside permafrost. We prepared artificial permafrost samples in our lab. We carefully mixed different types of inorganic materials like sand, silt, and clay along with organic materials and water to mimic the natural Arctic conditions. After preparing the sample, we used microwave measurements across a wide frequency range, from 50 MHz all the way up to 35 GHz. And to our knowledge, this is the first time permafrost-like materials have been characterized across such a broad frequency spectrum. From our measurements, we can clearly see that there are 2 different types of water inside permafrost. At lower frequencies, the signal is dominated by bound water that is strongly attracted to the surface of soil particles. And at higher frequencies, we can see the response of bulk water that behaves more freely inside the pores. To better understand this, we used a Debye model to separate the individual contributions of bound and bulk water. These allowed us to estimate how much of the total water exists in each state. And the key takeaway is that sand has the lowest amount of bound water, while silt and clay contain progressively more. When we add organic matter, the amount of bound water increased significantly because organic materials are porous and naturally hold onto water more strongly. To support this dielectric data, we also used scanning electron microscopy to directly visualize the soil particles. We can see that sand grains are large and smooth, which gives them a low surface area, and that's why it contains the lowest amount of bound water. Clay and silt particles, on the other hand, are much smaller and more irregular. That gives them more surface area and more space for water to stick with. We also did some analysis using effective medium theories across a broad range of water contents, which reveals a distinct percolation threshold. At low water content, water forms thin layers around the soil particles, and the permittivity increases very slowly. It is called a discontinuous water distribution, and a power law model with a low exponent can describe this region. But as we add more water, those layers connect and form a continuous pathway. It causes the permittivity to rise faster, and it is called a continuous water distribution. In this region, a power law model with a higher exponent can better capture the dielectric response. To further understand the dielectric behavior, we performed micro-CT scanning on the permafrost samples to directly visualize how water is distributed within the soil matrix. This transition from disconnected to connected water structure appears clearly in this image, and it aligns perfectly with our dielectric data. Our research can provide high-quality laboratory reference data which can guide better climate predictions. And who knows, maybe it can save our entire planet for the future generation.
This work is highly multidisciplinary, and I would like to sincerely thank my advisor Dr. Michael Lanagan for his guidance and mentorship throughout this journey. I am also grateful to my awesome research group members for their constant support and collaboration.